my name is Rachel and it has been a while. I haven't made a video in, I don't even know how long, maybe 2 months or something like that, so this feels a little bit weird, but I'm going to run with it because I want to get back into it. I've been on holiday and the kids were off and it's just been very busy. And also I don't read a lot in the summer because it's too hot to do anything, basically. So I haven't really done that much reading, haven't really been that involved in booktube, have really gone overboard with my writing stuff as well. So yeah, I've not been reading as much and I've not really been as active on booktube as I would like, but I'm definitely feeling like I want to get back into it now. So I thought I would make a video today telling you what I read in the months of July and August. I put them together because I mean, I have kind of read a lot, but also I've read a lot of things that I don't really want to talk about that much. Like I'd just say, I've read this. So yeah, I'm just gonna whiz through them all. And I haven't split it up into what I read in July and what I read in August. I've split it up into a better order for me, basically. So I'm going to start with the books that I read in German because I've been learning German for the last year, and one thing that was amazing about July and makes it one of the best reading months that I've had in so long is that I read my first book all the way through in German and like understood it and all of that sort of stuff, which is kind of a milestone for me because I've been learning German on my own. I did do like a month intensive course at the beginning, but for the most part I've been learning it on my own, so there's no real way to know where I'm up to and how I'm doing, and this is like a way that I'm like, okay, I'm doing well enough to be able to read books, so that's good for me. I feel like I have a milestone, I have something to keep me going now. So yeah, I thought I would mention the books that I've read that are German first. I haven't rated any of them because I haven't really read them for the story as much as I've been reading them for the German like part of it. So yeah, I haven't rated them and I've just put all the ones that I read from July and from August together. So the first book that I read was The Gruffalo, which is obviously the Julia Donaldson book. I put a lot of effort into that. That was the hardest thing that I read because I read the German book, then I looked up all the words that I didn't understand in it, then I watched the film in German with German subtitles, then I listened to the German audiobook, then I read it again, then I listened to the audiobook as I was reading it to make sure my pronunciation was perfect, then I would read it out loud on my own. Like, you get the gist. I worked very hard on the Gruffalo. I basically know the entire Gruffalo off by heart in German now, but I was very proud of myself for reading that. So I read that one first, then I read Die kleine Bär und das Mondscheinwunder, which is a really cute little story about a bear, a rabbit and a mouse who like go through the forest at night and get lost, and that was really cute. That one was a bit harder and I had to look up a lot of words with that one, but it was like a nice story. Then I read Elma, which is obviously very familiar to English people. It's about the little elephant who's rainbow coloured and looks different to all the other elephants. So I read that one. Then I read this beautiful book, So war das, which is so pretty. The reason I bought it is that even though it's a kid's book, the drawings in here are like full-on art pieces and I just love it. I don't know where you can see it. I've forgotten how to booktube, but yeah, maybe you see it somewhere. This was pretty. So I read that one. And then the last one is that I didn't read all of these, but this is Peter Hasen seine Freund. And this is like a collection of all the Beatrix Potter Geschichtes. So I read the first 2 of these, Die Geschichte von Peter Hase und Die Geschichte von Benjamin Cannon, and it was just super cool and I really enjoyed it and I love this copy. They're all the German books that I've read, so very happy and proud of that, and that's been like a big achievement that I've made recently. Yeah, that's how I've kind of split it up. So then I'm just going to go back to the English books that I've read in the months of July and August, and these are ranked in terms of like how I found them and what I rated them. So the first one is a little bit controversial maybe, but it is A Monster Calls, which is by Patrick Ness and kind of Siobhan Dowd. I didn't know that it was by her as well until I listened to the like afterwards bit, and he talked about how it was kind of her story and then she passed away and he took it over sort of thing. So that was quite nice to hear about. In terms of the story, so the first thing I will say is that I listened to it on audiobook. So I didn't have a physical copy and I didn't have the pictures, and I know that a massive thing about this book is that people talk about the drawings that go along with the story. So I will say that wasn't in like my enjoyment of the book. So yeah, maybe it would have been a little bit higher, but yeah, I just gave it 3 stars. It was just kind of average for me. I mean, I liked it. I kind of liked where they were going, but it felt like nothing special. I feel really guilty because I know like people love A Monster Calls. People talk about it a lot, and I was just like, okay. That's a book. So yeah, wasn't a big fan of that one. Sorry to anyone who loves it, because I know there's a lot of people out there who do. The next thing I read was A History of England, and this is like, I will put a picture up, but it's a tiny little like book thing by Jane Austen that she did of like a little satirical run through the history of English kings and queens. And I read this online, so I didn't read a proper copy of it, but it's archived online and you can find it and just read it there. So maybe I'll link that down below so that you can read it if you want to. But that was really, really funny. I really enjoyed that. I think one hindrance with it was that you kind of have to really know a bit about the history to get the satire that she's trying to talk about, but also she talks about it in a way that she doesn't really understand. Like, I think she does have a good understanding, but she writes it from the narrative of like, I don't really understand, but this is my basic understanding. That sort of a feel for it, and I did find it very, very funny and enjoyable. So that was really good. Then I read a book that I absolutely adored. So when I was going on holiday, like on the flight, I read My Purple Scented Novel by Ian McEwan. Now I gave this 4 stars, but even now thinking of it, and it's been about a month since I read it, I'm like, it should have been like 4.5 maybe, because it is so good. I loved it so much. This is a tiny little book that he has wrote, and it's kind of like an anniversary of when he started writing or something along those lines. It's about this man and his friend, and they basically have a similar dream, and then we follow them from university and as they grow up and as they kind of achieve their dreams or don't achieve their dreams. So they both want to be writers, and then we follow this man. It's so simple. We follow this man, and so these basically have the same dream. They go to university together, they both want to be writers, and this man, the best friend, basically becomes a writer, becomes a very famous writer. He has movies based on his books and stuff. And this man is kind of like, I think he does get something published, and it's just like no one cares. It's kind of one of those that's like, well, you know, it's going to be out of print soon enough. Like it just really didn't do well. And we basically follow them, and it's only, what was it, like 30 pages, 40 pages, something like that. But it is so good. Would highly recommend that for picking it up. And I was kind of reserved about it because I've read Atonement by Ian McEwan and adored it. I really loved Atonement, but then I did read On Chesil Beach and I hated that book. I thought it was boring. There was nothing going on. I just did not like that book at all. So I was kind of like, oh, I don't know how I feel about Ian McEwan anymore. Do I like his writing? Because I've only really liked one of his books and I've hated the other. But I loved My Purple Scented Novel, so I would highly recommend that. The next thing that I read on holiday, so I will try to insert a picture, but I don't know if I'll find one because I couldn't find the book on Goodreads or anything, but it is basically a big book on the masterpieces of the 19th century in the Musée d'Orsay. So I got it when I went to Paris with my mum a few months ago, and it basically, it just charts all the masterpieces that are in there. And so it focuses on Monet and Renoir and Degas and all these sort of people, and it was just lovely. Like, I really like reading art books and reading like behind what the art is and what it's meant to say and that sort of thing. So that was really enjoyable for me personally, and I gave that like 4 stars, so that was really good. And then all the other books that I read, I gave 5 stars. So the first one is that I listened to the first half of Dance with Dragons, which I think is Dreams and Dust, something like that. I can't remember what it is, which is terrible. But yes, I listened to the first half on audiobook and thoroughly enjoyed it. It was fantastic. Obviously, I love Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is one of my favourite things in the world. Yeah, I listened to it because I want to listen to the next one. I want to read through all of Game of Thrones again, but that was the one that I really wanted to read now. So I just thought, well, I'll read that now and then I can read through them all again, probably when I go home. But yeah, I want to have all the audiobooks on Audible. That would be super fun for me, because 1 credit on Audible gets you the full. Like, Dance with Dragons is 50 hours, so you get part 1 and part 2 in one section for 1 credit. That's amazing to me. So yeah, that was really good. Enjoyed that, obviously, was great. Then the next thing that I read was another one that I read on holiday, and it was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, but the new illustrated edition, and obviously it was amazing. It was really nice because I read it, the holiday that we went on was a travelling holiday, so it was me, my parents and my girlfriend, and we were travelling in the car, so you had like a lot of time in the car during the day to kind of read, and then there'd be parts where like I would read them out to everyone in the car because it was just like really funny. And yeah, it was nice. I love Harry Potter and it was nice to read that because I'm guessing Goblet of Fire will come out soon, because Prisoner of Azkaban came out last year, like the day after my birthday or something. And then the last book that I have to talk about is probably my favourite read of the year so far. I have just, oh my god, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with everything about it. I read it at the perfect time of my life and it was just like so good. So obviously I gave it 5 stars, and it is Heidi by Joanna Spyri. So this is a classic, a Swiss classic that is very highly loved, very highly regarded. I have the really pretty, I think they're Puffin Classics copies. I haven't got any of these books because I sent them all home in the car with my mum and dad on holiday, because I have to slowly migrate all my books back to England before I move home, because I'm not going to get them all in a suitcase. So yeah, that's where all the books are. I read this, I think I finished it at the end of July, but it was the one that I just had to finish it at the airport when I was going on holiday. Oh my god, I loved it so much. So I read it during the summer while I lived in Switzerland. I think summer's the best time to read it because it's a very summery book. There's winter moments in it as well, but it feels very summery and I just adored this book. So Heidi is about this adorable little girl who I fell in love with. I think her parents have died and she's living with her auntie, and then her auntie takes her to her granddad and says, I can't look after her anymore, you need to look after her. So he starts to look after her and he lives in Dorfli, which is a real place, and I have gone through it while I've been in Switzerland when we were going towards Davos. I am hoping to go back there because apparently the family here said that you can go and see the Heidi house in Dorfli, which sounds super cute, so I want to go do that. That is the story, and it is just so beautiful. I love it so much. I can't even describe it, and it's such a good representation of like what I've seen of Switzerland, of like what they eat and drink, of like the outside and how they treat children. Yeah, it was just really nice. It was the perfect read. It was so cute. I enjoyed it so much. There was some disability rep in there, which I adored. There's also older characters, which I really enjoyed. We've got like at least half of the characters are not just like adult and children, it's like children, adult, but then you've got like elderly people, which I really enjoyed because I feel like you hardly ever see like actual old people in books. It's really rare. And there's loads of them in this book. So yeah, just, oh my god, I gave it 5 stars. I enjoyed it so much. It was one of those where I gave 5 stars to the experience of reading the book, not just the book. And I don't think that I would reread it because I don't know if I would feel the same, because I wouldn't be in the moment that I was as I read it. I wouldn't be living in Switzerland and all of that stuff. So I don't know if I will ever reread it, which is quite sad. But at the same time, it was just like a book of the moment and I enjoyed it so much. So that's definitely one of my favourite reads so far this year. So yeah, they are all the books that I have read. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry for disappearing for so long, and hopefully I will be around a little bit more. Well, I definitely will be, because Victober is coming up and I'm really excited for Victober, and I already picked out our books the other night, so that was quite exciting. Yeah, I've been really getting into reading again. I've been listening to Sense and Sensibility on audiobook a lot, and I've been reading The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway the last few days, and I'm just really, really, really enjoying that. So I'm definitely getting back into the reading life, which I'm enjoying. Thank you very much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!